Okay, we're up to a Mishnah on Pei Dalid Amid Aleph. On Pei Dalid Amid Aleph, discussing the physical aspect of the Korban Pesach. Right. Until now, we're discussing the din of Tumah, all kinds of halachas of Korban Pesach, and now we discuss the parts. The Korban Pesach, we know that the Korban Pesach is you have to count people in. Physically, you have to count people in. So we're up to the physical counting. What parts are edible that they're considered the kazayas to be counted in? So the Mishnah on Pei Daled Amud Aleph says the following: Kol anechal b'shor hagadol, any part that can be eaten by a large animal, a large ox, right? Yochal b'gedi harach, can eaten by gedi harach. In other words, the gedi is soft, and it's going to get hard, but right now it's not. But since eventually it will, you can't count that as part of the kazayas to be mona a person in, to count the person in. It has to be something that already is edible. So anything that a shor hagadol is a full mature animal. They picked shor lavdafka, but a full mature animal which has the cartilage and the sinews are hard and unedible, even though in the goat or the sheep they might be edible because they're soft. Nonetheless, since eventually they will get hard, you cannot be counted in on those things, right? V'roshe kinafayim v'hasachusim. But what would be included would be the ends of the shoulders, and sachusim is some other cartilage. Again, I'm not exactly sure what this is, but these things what are edible, and they, even though they're cartilage and edible, they are considered, you can count them in. They're considered a kazayas of basar vis-a-vis being counted in of the Korban Pesach. They're considered kazayas of basar vis-a-vis being counted in. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Rami. Rabbi asked the following stira. Tanan, we learned, Kol anechal b'shar hagadol, anything that could be eaten b'shar hagadol, yoichal b'gedi harach. V'she'ena nechal, what? Loi. So, and what mashma, and what it can't be eaten, not. Ema seifa, Rasha kinafayim v'sasuchim, v'hani loi misachli b'shar hagadol. So, in other words, the latter part of the Mishnah apparently is Saisa, the first part of the Mishnah, because of these things, the Rosh Kanafayim Suchim, they will eventually be in a Shara Gadol, they're unedible. If they're unedible, so in the Gedi Harach, they should not be counted in as part of the Korban Pesach. So the ratio to the Sefer seems to be contradictory. Ela Tanoihi. The Mishnah is a machlokes. It's a machlokes Tanoim v'hachi ketani. And here's the way you have to read the Mishnah to make the ratio and the Sefer fit together. How are you going to read it? Kol anechal b'shar hagadol, yoichel b'gedi harach, and here the words ushe'ena nechal loy, v'yesh omrim, and others say af rashi kinafayim v'sachsuchim. Here the words v'yesh omrim, even though they're unedible. No, v'yesh omrim that people say this would be considered part of the edible. Rava Amar, Rava offers a second teretz to the contradiction between the Reisha and the Seifa. What are they? Here's the way you learn.
You gotta mute, guys.
I'm going to mute. Anything b'shar gadol when it's well cooked, yochal b'gedi harach b'tzli. It can be eaten b'gedi harach when it's broiled. If it's well cooked b'shar gadol, and that's considered an ochal, then the corollary by Korban Pesach, you'll be able to eat it what b'tzli. Umahein. What are the things that if you cook them well, you would be able to eat? That's Rashi Kinafayim, Vasachsuchim, the shoulder blade and these cartilage. So very geschmack, guys. So the Sefer and the Reish. Let's go back to the Mishnah now. Stick Rav in the Mishnah. Kol anechal b'shar hagadol b'shalaka, when you well cook it, yochel b'gedi harach, you can eat it what in the soft gedi or a soft fleh. And umaheim, and what are they? Maheim, what are the things that you can well cook? That's Rashi Kinafayim v'sachusim. This is what that's pshat in the Mishnah. Says the word Tani Kavasi, we have a brisa, that's a raya to Rava. Kol hanechal b'shara gadol b'shalaka, there it is, when it's well cooked. Yochel b'gdi arach, can be eaten right in the soft gedi. Bitzli. Uma hein, what are they? Rashi can find b'sach chusim. The gidim arachim v'nidin kibasar, and the soft gidim, they're nidin kibasar, you can be counted in the current Pesach. Itmar. Gidim shesoifin lahakshais. What about gidim in the end that are going to be hard? Right now they're soft, but eventually they're going to be hard. Are they considered now basar and they could be counted? Or eventually, since they're going to be hard, we're going to say that no, they can't be counted as basar. Rabbi Yochanan and nimna aleim b'Pesach, they could be counted. Reish Lakish shama ein nimna aleim b'Pesach. And the Gemara is going to conclude that the halacha is like Reish Lakish. Usually, machlokes Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish, the halacha is like Rabbi Yochanan. Over here, we're going to see at the end of the Gemara that Rabbi Yochanan is going to go change his mind, and the halacha is like Reish Lakish, that since eventually they'll be hard, even though now they're soft, you can't count them in as what as part of the Korban Pesach vis-a-vis a kezayis for each individual. Let's look at what they are now. And right now they're soft. Since they're soft, they're basar. And Reish Lakish says, they can't be counted because basar b'seifas linam, because we go what? Eventually what it's going to be like in the end. And in the end, they're going to be hard. So therefore, since it's going to be hard in the end, we can't count them as basar now. Anything that can be from our Mishnah, anything can be b'shar gadol, can be megiyarach. Umahein, what are they? Rasha kanafayim b'sachusim. Hani in aval gidim sheseifin lahakshas loy. Kash on Rabbi Yochanan. Amalei tana hani who adin lahana.
Sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
Oh, be quiet. Anyway, my girlfriend. Anyway, so these things, who adin, others that are similar to them. The Rasha can find sachusim, which eventually will be hard. Who adin gidim that are similar to them, according to Rabbi Yochanan. Eventually, you'll be able to eat them. You can eat them now, despite the fact they're going to be hard. They can be counted in as the Korban Pesach. My timer, the mesachli b'shara gadol b'shalaka. The reason is because if you well cook them by shara gadol, so hanachlami mesachli b'shara gadol b'shalaka. Omer Rav Yomi Rabavin Kios l'kamed Rabavohu Ramalei. Go ask him the following stira. Miyam Rabbi Yochanan Gidin Shesayfon Hakshas Nimnim Leim Pesach. Does Rabbi Yochanan in fact say that Gidim eventually are going to be hard? You can go ahead and count them in as part of the Korban Pesach to be eaten. Alma Basa Hashtas Linon. You see that you go after Basa Hashta. Iva Bomine Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan in the Chulin in a paracol, an easy paracol or Varaitiv, right? That we learn that Reish Lakish said, what about Or HaRoish Shel Egel, the Or of the Roish of the Egel, Harach Mahu Sheyatama. Now, it's in order to be Mitama to Eichel, you have to be an Eichel. So if it's skin, it's not an Eichel. What about the skin of the head? It's soft. Is it considered an Eichel? And Rabbi Reish Lakish told Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yochanan told Reish Lakish, Ein Mitama. It's not Mitama. Right now it's soft. Alma Basa B'Seifas Linon. We go in the end when it won't be soft, and therefore it's not what? It's not an oichel now. So we're having a kasha. You, Rabbi Yochanan, say the gidim that eventually will be hard. You go after the status now when they're soft, and they can be counted as the meat vis-a-vis the Korban Pesach. Yet when Reish Lakish issue a kasha vis-a-vis the or of the roish, whether it's considered an oichel, you said even though it's soft now, it's going to be it's not tamei. Why? Because eventually it's going to be hard and not an oichel. So where do you see? But in Chulin you're going after the soif, and here in Masechta Pesachim you're going after hashta. You're going after the now. So Amalei, he said to him, Rav Oven said to Rav Yirmiyah, the Ramalacha loichosh lekimche. Anyone who has the stira, you didn't grind your grits well. It's a way of saying you didn't look into the matter well. Hachod debei Rabbi Yochanan legabe Reish Lakish. He had charata, the Amalei, and he told Reish Lakish, al taktiteni shebaloshin yachid ani shaynaisa. That Mishnah where you say that I learned it b'loshin yachid initially, and therefore the halacha is not like that. I have charata. The halacha is like you go after the end and not the beginning, and that answers the stira that he asked. And in fact, therefore, we're going to go ahead and count. We're going to say that we're going to count. We're not going to count it because eventually it's going to be hard. There's a unique halacha of the Korban Pesach that we don't find by any other korban. There's a din of shviras etzem. It says the basa like soisim basa abayis hachutza the etzem like sishbru boy, and you should not go ahead and break a bone of the Korban Pesach. If you break a bone of the Korban Pesach, it's a lav in your chayev. Exactly what is the status of a Korban Pesach that is possible, right? or it's not the right time. So this is really the sugya of shviras etzem, the sugya of shviras etzem. It's a very fascinating sugya, and exactly how does it apply? Which bones does it apply to? We're going to see Be'ez Hashem this evening. Says the Mishnah, Hashover es Pesach etzem bePesach hatahar. If you go ahead, the Korban Pesach is tahar, and you break the bone, harizel like arbayim, you're going to get 40 malchus. That's it. You're going to get 40 malchus. Aval hamoise betahar. If you leave over something, you leave just nicer. You leave it over betahar, v'hashover betamei, or you break a Korban Pesach. But that when it's tamei, you break the bone. Ain't a like es arbayim. You're not going to get 40 malchus. We had this the other day, and in fact, I said the Gemara outside, not knowing the Gemara because I don't remember the Gemara. But we're going to see what's the reason by nicer that you're potter. Bishleim meiser tahar, says the Gemara. Meiser, if you're tahar, we're going to give two reasons, guys. Let's do it outside. Either it's halav hanitak la'aseh. In other words, I'm over the lav by leaving it over. I'm not take the lav, I correct it by going ahead and burning it. Similar to the very famous v'heishif is agzela shegozal. You steal, you may not take the lav of stealing by returning the stolen object. So that's one opinion. The second opinion is that it's a lav shein b'maisa. How are you over the lav? Not by actively doing something, but by passively sitting around and allow it to happen. If you passively sit around and allow it to happen, then you're going to be over on the lav. But a lav shein b'maisa, since it's not similar to the lav of chasima, we learn again the tushtel from the paradigm of Malchus is the pasuk that follows. I forgot the lashon. The second daf beis and Makis on the beis. I don't. Again, I'm not going to quote you a pasuk I don't know. But right afterwards it says Leisach Shabadisha. So therefore, here's the Gemara. Bishleim Ma'aser B'Torah. Very good. Leaving no B'Torah. You don't get Malchus the Tanya. Let's just say the pasuk is coming to give us an assay to correct loisa. Say lema shein loika. Div Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yaakov or the Gemara in the Makkah says Rabbi Akiva. Leimin Hashem muzeh el mishum dahavi lav shein b'maisa. Vein loikin love. It's a lav shein b'maisa. You don't get Malchus. El shoyv b'tamei minolan. How do you know if you go ahead and you break a bone of a tamei animal? How do you know in fact that what you are potter? No, it says you can't bring the bone of Korban Pesach. How do you know if the Korban Pesach gets tamei that you're not over the lav of shvius etzem? El shoyv b'tamei minolan. Damakra. It says ve'etzem leisishbru boy. Ve'etzem leisishbru boy. You should not break in it. Boy b'kosher v'loy b'psul. Boy b'kosher. It's only dafka boy in it. The kosher the carbon v'loy b'psul. Okay, that's the pasuk. Now we're gonna have machlokes. The rest of the daf, guys, we're gonna have machlokes, and then we're gonna have 8 nafkaminas to explain the nafkaminas with these two opinions. We're gonna have that's the Gemara. These two opinions, get it down, and 8 ways to explain the machlokes between the two. It's a very, very fascinating daf. Boy b'kosher v'loy b'psul, as we just quoted. Rabbi says, "B'bayis echad yochal ve'etzem le'sishbru ba kol haroy la'achila yesh by mishum shvius etzem." Anything that you could eat is your chayv shvius etzem. U'she'ein roy la'achila ein ban l'shvius etzem. And something that you can't eat l'chayra, there's no din of shvius etzem. So apparently, Rabbi would be coming to be mekel, guys, right? Rabbi would be coming what? To be what? Mekel or machmer. The Tanakhama said that there's no din of shvius etzem by Korban Pesach. There's no din if it's tamei, right? And now Rebbe comes along and says if it's roy la'achila, there is a din. Not roy la'achila, not. So apparently Rebbe's saying the same thing. A tamei tikka carbon is not roy la'achila, right? So what's Rebbe saying? What's the machlokes between Rebbe and the Tanakhama? Again, Tanakhama simply says the Korban Pesach has to be kosher, not puzzle. Rebbe says anything that's roy la'achila, there is a din of shvius etzem. Anything that's not roy la'achila is not shvius etzem. So exactly where is the machlokes? We will have 8 opinions as to what the machlokes is. My binayu, Rav Yirmiyah. The first one is Rav Yirmiyah. Rav Yirmiyah. Pesach haba b'tuma ikabinayu. A Pesach that is bought b'tuma. We know the Korban Pesach can be bought b'tuma, and we know that tum is chutcha b'tzibur. Ikabinayu. The mandi amakasha, like the mandi amakasha, high puzzle. In other words, the Tanakama would hold over here, there's no din of shviras etzem. Since the carbon is puzzled, because we're going according to the opinion that Tumah is hudcha b'tzibur. I'm allowed to bring it, but be'emes it's a puzzle carbon. It's just that there's a waiver of hudcha by carbon pesach if the tzibur, roiv of the tzibur is tamei, right? We discussed that at length. So we want to suggest the following. The Tanakama, he would be mekel. He would say there's no din of shviras etzem. For Lamadi Amaroy Lachila, however, light Rabbi, who says anything that's Roy Lachila, we all know that the only carbon that is, even though it's brought betuma, that can be eaten, is in fact the carbon Pesach. So Hainami Roy Lachilahu. This is also Roy Lachila. This is also Roy Lachila. So very geshmak, guys. The Tanakamu says that there's no din of shviras etzem is being mekel. Rebbe who says it's tali nachila, it would be a din of shviras etzem because even though the carbon's tamei, since tamei is hud, tamei is b'tzibur, you're permitted to eat it. Since you're permitted to eat it, therefore there would be din of shviras etzem. Yes, Ashley.
What's the din of noser by a tummy? I forget. What's the din of noser by a tummy if they brought it b'tummy? Is there a din of noser?
Absolutely. Once there's a din of achila.
Okay, so why? So
once there's a din of achila, there's a din of nicer.
Right. So wouldn't that also apply? I mean, why don't you make that comparison then?
Because we want to know about
noser.
etzem nicer boy. We want to know. We're not speaking about nicer. We're speaking about.
I know, but just like
break a bone
noser,
with this particular carbon. What does nicer have to do with it?
Because it's tummy, and yet there's a din of noser. So too here. If it's tamei, so then the etzem should also be applicable.
And according to Manda, and according to Manda Omar, it does apply. According to Rebbe, it does apply.
Okay.
In other words, Heshi, what you're saying is you're just extending the halacha of this tuma hutcha b'tzibur, and it's mutter to eat, and there's a din of nicer, and all the halachas of a regular carbon apply. Including right, that's it. You just supported what the Gemara is saying.
Okay.
Good. Now, the problem is, guys, there's a Kabbalah that Rebbe was Mekel and not Machmir. It comes out like Yirmiyah Shita, Rebbe is being Machmir and saying there is a din of shviras etzem. Rebbe Gavna the Kuliyama ain't by shviras etzem. Why? The Rebbe la Kule Ka'asi. Rebbe is coming to be Mekel. So if it's brought b'tamei, there's no din of shviras etzem. Rabbi Yosef says there's no din of shviras etzem if a carbon is brought b'tamei. That's it. There's no din of shviras etzem. Even though you're eating it, and even though Hashi there's a din of nicer, there would not be a din of shviras etzem. So therefore, that can't be the nafkamina. That's what Rabbi Yosef says. That can be right. V'haya pasalu Ella. What's the nafkamina according to Rabbi Yosef? Number 2 out of 8. Ella hoisla shasa koisha. There was a time when it was permitted, and then it became possible. Hakasha was bought bekashvus for holaman, and therefore what is it in the shviras etzem? That's the Tanakama. Now it's not roy la'achila. So Rebbe here would be mekel. There is no din of shviras etzem. Like the Tanakama that it's tali in kosher apostle. Since there was a shasa kosher when it was kosher. Therefore, there's a din of shviras etzem, despite the fact that now it's not, it's puzzle. Because once upon a time it was good. But according to Rebbe, who says it's tali and achila, since you can't eat it now, there would be no din of shviras etzem, and Rebbe is coming to be mekel. So we have Ravina's pshat and we have Yosef's pshat. Abaya Amar, a third pshat. Kuliyama kolki agavna ein boy mishum shviras etzem. Even the Tanakama would say there's no din of shviras etzem if there was a shasa kosher and it became puzzle. My timer, hashtemia puzzle. Who cares what it was before? Right now it's puzzle. I'm breaking the bone of a puzzle carbon. There was a time it was kosher, but right now it's not. So therefore, you don't have a nafkamina now between Rebbe and the Tanakama and Rebbe. Ella, what's the nafkamina according to Abaya? Ella shviras etzem mibai yoyim nekabinayu. If you break the bone during the day, you shechted it on your dalit, and it's not tesvav balayla, which is the zman of achila, and you break the bone. Whether it's a kosher carbon, hakashahu, it's a kosher carbon. So like the Tanakama, there would be a din of shviras etzem. However, according to Rebbe, who says it's tali nachila, guys, there's no way you can eat the carbon Pesach on your dalit afternoon. Hashtalav barachilahu. So therefore, this is a biased suggestion. This is the nafkamina outside. Tanakama said that what if it's the din of shviras etzem is only by kosher carbon, not by a puzzle carbon. I shechted this carbon on your dalit. I broke the bone on your dalit. Says the Tanakama, you're breaking the bone on a kosher carbon, therefore you'll be chayav for that lav of the etzem leisis rubai. Says Rabbi, anything that's royal achila, you have a din of shviras etzem. Since it's not royal achila on your dalit in the afternoon, there's no din of shviras etzem. So we have Ravina's pshat that was more petuma, and Rabbi was machmir. We had Rav Yirmiyah's, that was Rav Yirmiyah's pshat, not Ravina. That was Rav Yirmiyah's pshat. We had Rav Yosef's suggestion about a shasa kosher, and now we have a biased suggestion of what? Of it being brought in the afternoon. Those are the first three out of the 8. Meisivei on Abaya. We're going to ask a question on Abaya. Meisivei Rebbe Oimer. Rebbe says, Nimnim al moich sheberoish. You can count people in on the marrow of the skull. Ve'nimnim al moich shebekulis, but you cannot go ahead and count the marrow of the thigh bone. Again, we're divvying up the Korban Pesach. Everyone gets a kazayas. If there's 40 kazasim, 40 people, so on. If there's 40 kazasim and 30 people, everyone gets a little more. Question, do we count the moich of the roish? Absolutely. Do you count the moich, the marrow of the thigh bone? No. What's the difference? Al moich sheberoish my timer. Why do you count them? Since you're able to scrape it out, and without, in other words, I don't have to break the bone in order to get to the moich, and I can just scrape it out, and therefore it's considered part of the kazayas. If you're going to tell me, according to Rebbe, that you're able to break the bone in the afternoon because it's not the zman of achila, kluyas nami, why don't you go ahead and count the marrow of the thigh bone? Nitberei miboy yom, break the bone on your dalit. After all, there's no iser. Take out the moich, and go ahead and count somebody in on it. Ella, it must be, guys, that you don't have the ability to break it during the day. Kasha on Abaya's pshat. Abaya wanted to say the nafkamina would be if you break it, you dalid like the Tanakama, you'd be chayev. Like Rebbe, you'd be a pater. Like Rebbe, if you're able to break it during the day, why can't I be counted in on the moich of the kulyas? After all, it's only the daytime. It's not the zman of achila. Go for it. According to your reasoning, if this is your reasoning, in the evening also, I can get to that moich without breaking it. What can I do? Naisi gumrasa, bring a coal, the nichus ola, put it on the bone. The nikla, it'll burn the bone. The nafkal moich didain, you'll be able to take out the moich. The nimna ola and be counted. The Tanya, aval asoyif bat samais, anyone who burns the bones, or whittles away at the sinus, ain't by mishum shviras etzem. Alamayis chol meimar, abayom mishum. In other words, why isn't this not available in the evening? Alamayis chol meimar, mishum paka. I'm worried, guys. If you put the coal on it and it makes a hole in it, may crack it. That the place where the place of the burning is not a problem, but cracking it down is a problem. Rav Amar Mishum Hefset Kotchim. The Kamasale be a dayim. What are you doing? You're putting on this coal. It's going to burn through, and it's going to burn some mayach, and you're causing a loss. The nor will consume. So So be'emes, in fact, where goiza you can't do this during the day, ata you can't do it during the night. So that's what we say. You can't do it during the day, and therefore Abaya's teretz stands. Abaya is saying that, wow, that's the nafkamina, right? It's nafkamina, and you don't have the ability to put on it during the night. I do it during the day, but guys, if you put it during the day, you can put it during the night. So that's his teretz. So again, one more time, the teretz, the third teretz of Abaya, it's speaking when you shechted the Korban Pesach during the daytime. It's a kosher carbon. Says therefore the Tanakama, since it's a kosher carbon, there would be a din of shviras etzem. Says Rebbe, since you can't eat it, there won't be a din of shviras etzem. Good, that's the third. Now we have 5 more to go. Rav Papa or Rav Papa says, Kol ki agavna kul yama yesh ba mishum shvius etzem. Even during the day, Rebbe would hold this is in shvius etzem. My timer la'orta in the evening michse la'achila. In other words, when you say that something is not edible, usually it means it's never edible. Over here, the only problem is yimachus zman. I'm missing time. Just wait a few hours, and it's going to be very edible, right? Because it's going to be tesvav in the evening. So even Rebbe, who says that it's totally in achila, would admit over here there's a din of shviras etzem, because eventually it'll be edible. So this is not the nafkamina between Rebbe and the Tanakama. Ella be'eva shiyatza miktsasa k'miflaki. Now an aver that goes out, there's a halacha that basa b'sada b'chefa sochelu, but anything that stays b'seich the sada, it's got. In other words, there's a psul yaitza. We learn out from here that if a korban kachim kalim goes out of Yerushalayim, Kachi Kadashim goes out of the Beis Hamikdash, the Azara, in that case it becomes a psul yotza. There's a psul yotza, it becomes puzzle. So nafkamina would be if one of the Evorim goes out of Yerushalayim. Let's say that the arm goes out of Yerushalayim. Mand amakasha hakasha. Therefore, it's a kosher animal, because since the rest of the animal is kosher, even though this one you can't eat, there would be din shviras etzem. So then, let's say that the right foot goes outside Yerushalayim. You bring it back in. According to Tanakama, since the animal's kosher, even though this is not kosher, since it's part of the animal, there would be din shviras etzem. Loy Rebbe, who it's totally b'achila, since I can't eat this because it went out, therefore you would be potter if you broke the bone. Kidtanya, Rabbi Shmuel ben Shlomo Yochanan Omer, Eva shiyatzim mitzasai v'shivroi, ein boy mishum shviras etzem. Shisha Beit Ridi Omar, Kol ki agavna kol yalma, ein boy mishum shviras etzem. Everyone would bid there's no din of shviras etzem over here. Even the Tanakama would be maida. The Eva who puzzle, the Eva is puzzle, and we're not going to say we go after the rest of the animal. We're going to say the Eva is puzzle. So, Ella, according to Rav Shisha, what is pshat? El shviras etzem. Bina ikka. You're breaking it bina. Bina means when it's half roasted. It's not cooked enough well to be ikka binayo. Mandiyam kasha hakasha. It's a kasha carbon. Mandiyam royal achila hashtein royal achila. But Nachma Yitzchak kolki agavna yesh b'mishus v'etzem. Everyone would say if you break the carbon, even Rebbe, even the Tanakam would be moida that you chayev. My timer the chazil achila, because eventually it's similar, guys. If it's half roasted, it's similar to being yudalin in the afternoon. You're down in the afternoon, you just have to wait till the evening. If it's half roasted, what do? Just finish roasting it. In other words, so since it's the same thing, there would be din shviras etzem. Even Tanakama would admit it. But el shviras alya it could be nine. Nafkamina would be the shvira of the alya. The alya is the bone. I don't know why. The alya is the part that goes from a sheep on the mizbeach. Why, I don't know what they're going to do over here with okay, I have a kasha on this. Oh, well, let's see the Gemara. I'll just the kasha afterwards. It's a kasha carbon. The alya is not royal achila. Why? The alya legavoya is solid, because the alya it always goes the solid. It always goes what to the. It always goes to the shulch to mizbeach. I'm saying this would not be only an afkamina if you offer korban pesach, you offer a sheep and not a goat, right? Because there's no din of the aliyah by the goat. Okay, that's okay. Ravashi, what does Ravashi say? We have Ravashi Amar. Rashi says, "Kol ki agavna vaday ein by mishum shviras etzem." There would be no din of shviras etzem if you break the tailbone. The vaday ein roy lachila klal. El eva shein lov kazayis basa ikabinayu. L'mandiam akasha, l'mandiam aroy lachila beinin shir achila v'leka. Avino Amar, the final teretz, Kol ki agavna less by mishum shviras etzem beinin shir achila. El eva shein lov kazayis basa b'makam zeh. Now you have a bone. And one part of the bone, you don't have meat. The other one, you have meat. It could be nail. Mandiam kosher, the animal's kosher. Mandiam royal achila, being shir achila, and b'makam shvira, you need the share of the achila b'makam when you break it, the whole leka. So now you have 8 terutzim. Let's go over them quickly. You had Rav Yomi who said that it depends upon what, about being tamei, if it's tumas hutchanat. Rabbi Yosef shasa kosher. Abaye, you're breaking it on your dollar during the day. Rav Papa said it's speaking with what? Where when Psul Yotzim and outside. Rav Shisha said it depends if what? It's partially roasted. Rav Menachem said it's the Aliyah. Rav Ashi said that what? It doesn't have a kazayas, but as and Ravina says it doesn't have a kazayas in that place. Now the Gemara is going to be in a brisa, and it's going to include 4 of these things. Tanya Abaye Minayu. We have a brisa that substantiates 4 of these things. Rabbi Omer, the Bayis Echad Yochel, they should all be eaten in one house. That's in like Sishbru boy. Right? Ala kosher chayiv, that you chayiv only for what? For a carbon that's kosher, then a chayiv ala psul. But you're not chayiv what for one that is, you're not chayiv for breaking a bone and one that's puzzle. What does it come to exclude? Hoysel Shasa Koisher. So this is Rabbi Yosef's teretz. V'nishul b'shasa achila, ein by mishum shivas etzem. Yesh by shir achila. It has the share of achila, right? Yesh by mishum shivas etzem. Ein by shir achila, or ein by mishum shivas etzem. A royal mizbeach, ein by mishum shivas etzem. B'shas achila, yesh by mishum shivas etzem. Shalei b'shas achila, ein by mishum shivas etzem. So you had one that was supported Rabbi Yosef, one that supported Ravina, one that supported Rav Nachman, and one that supported what is Abaya. That seems to be the 4. Okay, this is a good place to stop. Thank you everyone for listening. Bez Hashem.